It's the end of the year already somehow, even though I feel like it just got started. Didn't the Switch 2 just come out? In any case, there's a lot for us to talk about, and this time we're specifically touching on points that resonated with us, either positively or negatively, and there's probably a lot to touch on either end of the spectrum there. We had an entire console launch, as well as a new platform, kind of, in the form of Nintendo Today. I don't know if I really want to talk about that one, but maybe we have to. There's a lot to touch on, though. In addition, we will also be giving our overall grade for Nintendo at the end of the year, both maybe objectively and subjectively, as to how we think Nintendo performed in 2025. So, before we get into our specific points throughout the year, I just want to do a general topic on the Switch 2, just because it was kind of focal point of this year, coming out about the middle part of the year. We found out about it at the beginning of the year, and now here we are at the end with a bunch of things to play on it. So how are we feeling about the Switch 2 at this point, roughly 6 months or so into its life cycle?
I'm happy with it. I was happy when they announced it, and next thing you know, we were playing this thing in a few months. Like, we didn't wait years and years and years to actually play the system and play the brand new game. So yeah, I was happy with it. I'm happy where we are with it now, and I'm looking forward to 2026.
I think on my end, I'm also pretty happy. Like, I use it weekly in handheld mode when I'm traveling to the other side of the country. So about 5 hours front and back. So I play a lot of games in handheld mode. I do realize that in the 6 months that the Switch 2 has been out, it's been, when it comes to big games, it's mostly been 4 specific genres, either sports games, platformers, RPGs, and there was another one that I had on top of my head and I forgot. But it's mostly been just 4 different types of games that I've mostly been playing for the big companies. And outside of a bunch of indies and just some bunch of backwards compatibility stuff.
Well, based on the new rumors, you might be able to add a new category to that, being shooters, because apparently Call of Duty may be coming to Switch 2 in the future, so there you go, Don. So for me, it's weird, because I don't play the Switch handheld, or Switch 2 handheld, so that part doesn't change anything for me in that. So, as when it plays primarily docked, I still feel like it was almost like a complete lack of transition for me. I just went from like one platform to another that both feel very similar, with maybe a slight uptick in the amount of games I have to play, including the Switch 2 editions. So I would say, as a platform, Nintendo's done very well with the Switch 2. Obviously, it's the fastest selling system of all time right now. Even though it may be stumbling a little bit in November, I don't think that means a whole lot right now. But yeah, it's doing ridiculously well. They've had a steady supply of games, whether brand new ones or Switch 2 editions, so they avoided the lull that a lot of Nintendo platforms run into in the early months, where there just isn't anything to play outside of the launch titles. And momentum's been, overall strong with them. And I will actually use this as a launching off point for something that resonated with me this year, whether or not I end up, loving the final games, is this kind of felt like the year of impossible sequels. We got a Kirby Air Ride sequel. Like, I never expected that, despite wanting it forever. Metroid Prime 4, a game that's been in development for a decade, basically, is finally here. Especially, not even accounting for all the time between Metroid Prime 3 as well. Donkey Kong Bananza, a new 3D Donkey Kong game, which is basically a sequel to DK64 in some ways. Wild. And then also Mario Kart World, a new Mario Kart. That felt impossible after Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So that's wild, yeah.
Now I remember exactly the genre I was missing from the top of my head. It was racing games.
Racing, there we go. Yeah. I covered it for you.
Yeah, because it was Mario Kart, it was Air Riders, it was Kirby, but it was also Sonic and some other stuff.
Right, lots of racing.
Yeah, lots of racing. But no, it's honestly been consistently good. Like the first.
Sorry,
they can't handle the hype.
No, I can't.
It's been consistently good. I've mostly been impressed with the amount of games coming out from just about month 2. There was a good chunk at day 1, the amazingly amount of games on day 1, about 27. Then the first month become kind of slow. And then from there, it was an uptick in games again.
Right.
So it was a lull period where I was like, well, after this bunch, do I have a bunch to play? And then they started announcing stuff at last. But it felt like a while before that gear, it settled in its second gear, really. Until Donkey Kong, it felt like sort of a lull period. But then it really came into its own, and now it's a really interesting system so far.
And to their credit, that was a very brief lull. We're talking a couple of months, and that's nothing by Nintendo standards. So they've done well. I would actually say, if anything, we're now entering a lull. In any case, yes, Nintendo had a lot of games, including big ones, even if one of them, Metroid Prime 4, was cross-system compatible. But
Sure.
yeah, that's what stood out to me. Like, they delivered on the software front, at least in terms of, like, I would say variety and giving people a lot of what people have kind of been wanting for a long time. Even if, in some cases, their final results may have not lived up to the expectation. I think, Don, you have a whole topic dedicated to that. But I don't know if you're ready for that one yet, so...
I mean, I'm fine with going to that if you want to.
If you want, bring it up, sure.
Sure. I think, like, game rollout-wise, like Switch 2, I already mentioned sort of in my comments before, it was interesting, right? So, they announced a bunch of first-party games. Like, we knew the first two roughly after launch. So, we knew Mario Kart and we knew when Donkey Kong was supposed to come out. Then we waited until, I would say, like, middle of August, near the beginning of September, to kind of know when the rest was sort of coming out. And even on the third party front, like after that system came out, we didn't hear anything until the partner showcase at the end of July when it comes to third party games substantially. That might be partially because of not everybody has a dev kit yet. That might be partially because Nintendo waited for the right moment to announce that stuff. But like, it also felt weird randomly where Pokemon Company said this is when ZA is coming out, or here is the Metroid Prime 4 window roughly, we'll tell you more at a later date, or here is Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment during the partner showcase, we'll tell you more about the release date in 2 months.
So what's your overall point there then, Don?
I think the overall point is that it felt stagnant. It felt weird in places where they needed to show the long-term vision of that system, right? With Switch 1 and with systems before, they solely had like an idea when stuff was released, and to your point, like systems before that, they didn't tell us anything. So it is an improvement from what came before, but comparison to, say, Switch 1, it felt weird where they were awfully quiet for a while, and then start pumping out all the info from the start of September.
I think that almost speaks to a broader point in that I feel like Nintendo's messaging was kind of bad this year. It was kind of bad surrounding the Switch 2 in particular, where there were so many questions surrounding it, even after the initial reveal. They didn't even tell us a price in that initial reveal, which then caused immediate backlash and against the announcements. Which, in hindsight, I don't think the price of the Switch 2 is actually unfair, at least with the bundle. Now that the bundle's going away based on the rumor, then that's, that is becoming more of an issue. But I think there's even more instances I'm forgetting. But I do feel like Nintendo just didn't quite have a grasp on the best way to get the messaging across at times, especially for a new platform launch. But then again, you look at the sales, like, well, it didn't really matter in the end. There's, a lot of people are upset with them right now, but that's not affecting them in a financial sense.
No, absolutely not. It didn't change it for them in the slightest. But it was interesting, right? Because it felt so front-loaded with that presentation on April 2nd. Yeah. And then we didn't hear anything until the end of July with regards to games coming out, really. Right. There felt a really weird gap in place. Well, I'm not really sure where to place that.
Well, speaking of weird gaps, or maybe lack thereof, those 2 Mario Kart World Directs, like the second one in particular, which told us nothing new about the game, I still don't fully understand why that existed, but that was a little weird. Whereas Kirby Air Riders, I think we have, actually, I don't want to steal anyone's point there. Someone may have
Yes, I have a point about the Kirby Air Riders presentations. Yes.
All right. Well, Nick, do you have more to say about this topic though?
No. I was just, their messaging, excuse me, this year was just kind of off, and I do agree with Don and kind of like the lulls periods where it's just like, oh, here's the release date for Donkey Kong, and then next thing you know, we're waiting like a few more weeks, a few more months, and it's like, oh, here's the release date for Metroid, here's the release date for Hyrule Warriors. And it was weird with their messaging with Hyrule Warriors. They specifically said winter, and people were confused. People were like, is it winter of next year? Is it going to be like an early 2026 game? Is it going to be like a December game for this year? And no, it was early November, which Nintendo is always weird with those dates at times. So it's just like, oh yeah, like Splatoon 3 is coming out in the summer, and I think it was like the last week or like middle of September, and I guess it's still technically summer. So yeah, their dates are kind of weird with when they pick like specific like seasons. And it's like, hey, the game's coming out here, and it comes out a little bit earlier or a little bit later to that date.
Right. Well, we gotta stay up on Nintendo Today app to find out. No, kidding. If only the app were actually useful for something. Nick, there was another point I think you had that Oh, in regards to, well, speaking of release dates, did
Yeah.
you have a point about Donkey Kong Bonanza in particular, involving the DLC, perhaps? Or...
Yeah, so I can go into that, and that's, I guess, going into this topic with Nintendo's messaging is how Nintendo's been handling DLC this generation. I know we're only a few months into the Switch 2 generation, but the DLC, I guess, roadmap for all their games is kind of wonky, I want to say. I don't know if that's
roadmap in some cases?
Yeah, exactly. What roadmap for the DLC? So the game that needs it the most, which I think most people can agree upon, is Mario Kart World. It's like, where's the DLC for that? There's minor updates here and there, but it's like, we really want to see the true vision of this game, because I know right now, I know you're high off of it, Andre. I really do enjoy it, but I really want to see the true vision of this game. I think it's going to be at its best potential in like 5 years from now, where there's actually going to be DLC for it. But then you look at other games like Donkey Kong Bonanza, and I love Donkey Kong Bonanza, my game of the year. It gets DLC like a month after the game, and I'm like, whoa, like I just 100% of the game. I don't know if I need Donkey Kong DLC this soon.
Didn't they announce it before it came out too?
No, so with Donkey Kong Bonanza, the
Okay.
DLC was announced in the September Direct, and they announced it. They showed it off. They show off DK Isle from Donkey Kong 64, and then they're like, "Oh, it's available today." I'm like, wait, again, like this could have been something that they could have waited maybe like 6 months after release or a year after release, where it's like off of people's minds, and then it's like, oh my god, like I can go back into Donkey Kong again. I enjoyed the DLC, but I think it was way too soon. That $20 price tag, I don't think helped the game at all. Where again, the game's coming out at $70. You slap on another $20, the game's at $90.
Right.
And then again, going into this DLC conversation, it's like Pokemon's DLC was announced before the game even released. So, and then that came out so soon after ZA came out. I'm like, where is Nintendo's head with DLC this generation? And then Kirby comes out and Sakurai's like, hey, we're not doing DLC. Like, once we're done with the game is done. I'm like, okay, like, at least we got good news from that. Like, I'm happy with how Kirby Air Riders handled. But again, like, their overall messaging and how they're handling DLC this generation is just all over the place.
And then there's the DLC tacked onto Nintendo Switch 2 editions.
Yeah, and then that too, which I didn't even mention. Yeah.
And then you have, for example, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Nintendo Switch 2 edition, plus Jamboree TV.
It's so dumb. What really annoys me about Mario Party in particular is it's probably my favorite Switch 2 edition because it actually does add some good things, but it went about the most annoying way possible, you know? Like, by one, adding features that you definitely don't need the power of the Switch 2 to run.
Yeah.
They just locked it to that for some reason. Two, by making it so you have to select the right option in the tile screen, you got the Switch 2 version, the Switch 1 version, but then you have features that can only be found in the Switch 1 version, and you can't intermix those two? It's so freaking weird and bad.
Andre, they changed Super Mario Party Jamboree into a DVD menu.
They basically did. You're not wrong. Jesus.
Yeah,
it's the worst. I don't know what they were thinking.
Honestly, I thought the best Switch 2 edition DLC was for Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I thought that DLC was really fun, like a brief 4-hour window of just a fun return to that world. But yeah, with Mario Party Jamboree, once again, it just turned into a DVD menu with 3 different options for you to choose from.
Yeah, it did. The whole Switch 2 edition thing, not to stray too far from DLC, but it is related. Like, I think it was an interesting concept, you know, and I think ultimately a good idea, in that it's kind of breathing new life into these games you already have, and it definitely is helping to fill in those gaps in the Switch 2 library that may have been there otherwise. And also giving an incentive for people to check out games that they either missed or didn't have a chance to pick up if they never owned a Switch 1. So it's a really smart idea overall. I will say, personally speaking, most of them haven't done a whole lot for me. I didn't really much care to revisit Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom with like a GPS feature, you know? It kind of seems like it takes away from it. I obviously like the HD and frame rate improvements, though I don't know if that should be locked to a Switch 2 edition, especially when they're free for other games. So that's kind of weird. And then, you know, and I think, to your point, Don, I think the Kirby DLC was actually, you know, I think it was cool in that you know, it's almost like a mini, its own mini game, you know, like a little expansive type thing. But at the same time, it's like small enough that I almost kind of like, I played it, I enjoyed it, then I completely forgot about it, you know, like it didn't really do a whole lot new. But it's still cool that it exists for those who pick it up at a pretty, you know, moderate price, but it does flesh out the game. I guess my point more is, they're just all over the map with these Switch 2 editions, you know? Like, there's no consistency to it. And I would love if they kind of, like, maybe hone that a little bit better, if there's going to be more. I mean, we have Mario Wonder coming up, which we'll discuss in our 2026 discussion, and even that's doing kind of, like, different things, you know, very different from like the base game. So
Yeah, and I don't think there's a price point in that. I assume it's going to be $20. And then again,
Probably.
like the price point for these Switch 2 editions are all over the place. The Zelda ones you mentioned, those are at $10. And then Animal Crossing in a month or a few weeks from now, that's going to be $5.
Yeah.
So again, there's like no right or wrong or no direction for
yeah.
these Switch 2 editions from Nintendo.
Even from a third party perspective, it's all over the place because some of them are free.
Yeah.
Fun fact: in Japan, you cannot offer them for free, so you have to ask. You are required to ask there for money.
Right.
But in other regions, some of them are free, some of them are $5, some of them are 10, some of them are the minimal amount they also require in Japan. So they just translate over that for the English release. But it's I mean, it's nice. Most of the improvements are actually quite nice, and actually they make them run well. But for the majority, it's just a nice-to-have feature. It's not necessarily it will change the game or anything.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. I thought I had a point related to this, but I really don't. So, Nick, did you have another thing that resonated with you, or?
Yeah, so this is more so on the positive side. Even though I did enjoy those DLCs, specifically the Donkey Kong one and Bonanza, I'll play all the time. Something to your point, Andre, like I guess your first announcement or your first detail of this year
was Direct.
Yeah, Andre Direct. No, but I was so excited that none of these games got leaked. And that was probably my biggest point for like this year. Like we watched the Direct in April for Switch 2, and if any of these games got leaked, like if there was a new 3D Donkey Kong, a new Kirby Air Ride, a new Warriors game, Zelda Warriors game, I think I would have shrugged it off and said, "You're making this up. Like that's complete false. Like I don't think any of these games are coming out." But like watching the Direct live and seeing these games for the first time, Sakurai's making a new Kirby in 2025. Again, I would have been like, "You're crazy. That's not happening." But our reactions show that it's like, "Oh my god!" Like there's still excitement for these games, and Nintendo's still bringing it, and they did in 2025. So again, having these games not leak and watching it live, that was one of the most exciting things for this year for me.
Yeah, right. That's a good one. Yeah, there was a period there where like everything was leaking from Nintendo, and it seems like they've tightened it up a bit. I know there had been rumblings for a long time of a new DK, possibly from the Odyssey team.
Yeah,
but even that didn't really tell us much about what that would end up being. So no one expected little, teen Pauline in the game. So
yeah,
and also, slight spoiler alert here, but the thing that happens at the end of Bonanza, like, that was amazing, and that was not spoiled at all, which is actually the reason why, well, let me think here. Yeah, it wasn't spoiled, but it was spoiled quickly once it happened, which is why I rushed through the game as quickly as I could, but I didn't want it to be spoiled on them. Like, if this thing that I think is going to happen, I want to experience it by myself, and it was amazing. Like, that final hour of the game was fantastic. I think one of the best final hours Nintendo has ever done, even if it largely is member berries, which I fully acknowledge. But I freaking loved it. It was great. I just wish I loved the rest of the game as much. But yeah, that final hour is fantastic. And speaks to your point that they've been, not too much of a spoiler. So a lot of hype this year in some respects.
And Andre, that was even on my list, like the ending of DK Bonanza. Without spoiling it, I can't believe they went there. I can't believe they did that. Again, you're like, oh, it's member berries. It definitely is, but again, connecting that to that, I was like, I can't believe they did this. I can't believe they went this far. It's probably one of my favorite endings to a Nintendo game ever. So I can't wait to replay it and get back to that ending.
Yeah, something about the Odyssey team, or I say Odyssey, the Tokyo team, they're so good at nailing the ending sequences, whether it's Galaxy or Odyssey or now Bonanza, like they're all freaking amazing. I can't wait to see what the next Mario ends up looking like in that respect. Don, what else do you have for you? What else resonated for you this year?
We hinted at it earlier, but I want to keep the good vibes going with this. Sakurai can make me excited for anything. Thanks, Air Riders presentations.
It's so true. That was such a good... Yeah. Both directs were really good.
Oh, yeah. I think they went over in way too much detail on every feature, which could see his genuine excitement about telling us about it. I was like, wow, you put so much effort in. I actually have to appreciate it.
I think what comes through is his passion, right? Like,
yes.
Especially now that I've played it, like, I'll be honest, most of the stuff he talked about, I don't really care about. But the way he presented it is so well done that I can't help but enjoy the passion he has for everything he put into that game, right? And that's what we're missing for the Mario Kart World Directs. We didn't have that personal touch to it, and it created this weird disconnect in the messaging, I feel like. And even though I ended up loving that game, definitely more than the Kirby Air Riders, which I love elements of too, I think it speaks to, like, I would love to see more of the behind the scenes passion from Nintendo, which is something Nintendo seems to be adverse to. They don't like spotlighting the developers often outside of the developer asks, or whatever they call it now.
Yes.
Developer, yeah. And I would love to see more of that. Put your developers, like your leads, ahead if they want to. Let us hear more about the thought process and the work that went into the game, and why they think this feature is important. Because the Kirby Air Riders directs were great. Even they were just entertaining, fun. Whereas Mario Kart World, the second one in particular, was a complete drag. I'm like, why are they wasting my time with this? So.
Yeah, to your point, Don, I think Sakurai can hold up a pencil or paint something on the wall and talk about it for an hour, and I would still be excited about it. It could be the most boring thing, but Sakurai just adds so much energy to his conversations that it's like, okay, whatever this guy's saying, I have to give him my full undivided attention. I know I'm gonna have a good time, and I think it even shows Nintendo has full trust in him, because he started doing these longer presentations with the DLC for Smash Ultimate, because each individual character really did start getting their own 40 minutes, half hour, hour-long presentation, and it's just him talking about the character and all the details that went into making that character. That I'm excited to see what he's got next, game-wise. Is it really going to be another Smash game? Is it going to be new characters, or is it going to be a brand new IP? But again, whatever Sakurai's working on, I know I'm going to to be there for it.
Sadly, that won't be something we could probably touch on our 2026 discussion, because I don't think we'll be ready that soon.
It's going to be a long time.
It's interesting, right? Because I only played the original Air Ride a few years ago. I think I even brought it up in a conversation back then with Andre and other people from, hey, I finally playing Air Ride. But watching those presentations actually got me excited for the sequel, because it never was really that much before. I actually think now, and I say this with full conviction, it was my favorite Nintendo game of this year.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm so glad you were able to enjoy it. Especially, for me, Stage Trial is almost as much fun, or actually more fun than it's ever been. It's a total blast, and it really shows Sakurai. It's something Sakurai understands about the game feel better than a lot of other game developers, and I want
absolutely.
He needs to spread that knowledge even more than he has. So he tried with his YouTube channel, but we need more of it. We need
go back.
Exactly. We need Sakurai clones to pick it up. All right, I'm gonna bring it down a little bit here, because I think, and we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but there is an almost unavoidable part of the Switch 2 and Nintendo discussion in general this year, being just the general hatred or distaste or disgust surrounding the system. I don't know what it is, but something about the Switch 2 in particular really drew people out of the woodwork just to complain about it, every facet of it. And I think, I do think there are legitimate complaints about the system. I don't even love the system that much myself, at least as a platform. Most because I don't use it for what it's intended to do beyond playing it docked. But that aside, people are just so eager to hate on every aspect of this, and also by extension Mario Kart World, which I think I kind of pulled in that whole thing as well. And I'm just a little bit maybe not. I don't know if I fully understand it. Again, this isn't me defending Nintendo. I do think there are absolutely legitimate complaints about them, and $80 for a single game is kind of extreme. At the same time, they had the bundle available, and if you want a Mario Kart, at least up until soon in the future, you could get it for essentially $50. And so I don't quite understand why so much of the conversation has been dominated by this, except for the fact that it's profitable. I think that's part of it, is people are essentially profiting on YouTube to a degree, and then that that then spreads to other conversations. But that doesn't account for all of it. There's Twitter and Reddit, and of course I don't know. I don't know if I have a point here. It's more just that it just felt so dominating, that it clouded a lot of the discussion.
Hey man, all that hate should have been focused on Nintendo today.
Yes, that's where it should be focused. The dumbest app they've ever made. So I'm part of the problem, but I hate Nintendo today.
Yeah, no, for some odd reason, people just like to drink the haterade, and maybe those people aren't even going to touch a Nintendo product, but it's just hey, like you said, Andre, people do profit off of that in some degree. People just like the attention. But again, we have full critiques for Nintendo. I want them to do well, because I'm a big fan of what they produce, and this year speaks for itself, right? They made some great games in 2025.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, although some would say maybe some not so great games, given how divisive they've been received. Some would even say Mario Kart World. I completely disagree with that. But then recently we had Metroid Prime 4, and I think, Don, you had a point about Metroid Prime 4, right?
No, I do not.
You did not? I think you did.
No.
You had a point, Don. How dare you?
I mean, we had a point in our DMs, but we didn't have a point on this list. That I can bring it up. Yeah, I don't care about Metroid Prime 4 though.
I think that's a valid point though. Is that I think for a lot of people. So I think for a lot of people, the game wasn't what they were hoping for after 18 years of waiting for Metroid Prime 3 and almost a decade of development by itself since it was announced to be in development. Since the Switch 1 came out, like that's how long it's been, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's saying it's a bad game, I don't understand that. I don't think it's a bad game. I thought it was a good game. I don't think it's an amazing game. But I do think though, Don, your point is like how a lot of people feel, where it kind of felt underwhelming. You know, it wasn't what it needed or what they wanted it to be. For a lot of hardcore fans, and I don't know, Nick, where do you fall on this? Have you played Metroid Prime 4 much?
Yeah, I played through it completely, and I enjoyed it. My thing is, I think I'm a newer Metroid fan, I guess I want to say, because my first one I played was Prime 1. That was maybe like 10 years ago. And then I got into Dread, I got into Super, Zero, and then finally Prime 4 Beyond. But I think Metroid just does a lot better in 2D, and that's a personal thing. Like, I just replayed Dread right after playing Metroid Prime 4, and I'm like, oh my god, this game just captures every element of a Metroid game. Like, Samus is lost on her own, the map is super vibrant, like, you can get lost at times, and that really does take away that experience from Metroid Prime 4. But then again, like, I really did enjoy it. Like, I know it's a completely different game. I know people had a little bit higher expectations for it. The thing that I struggled the most with was honestly the controls. And I don't know if anyone else had this issue, because I jumped back between so many different options. Like, I used the GameCube controller, I played in handheld, I used the mouse controls, I played Joy-Cons, I used the Pro controller. Like, I was jumping back between everything. And even using the mouse controls, like, I used it for like maybe a half a dozen hours of the game, and I could never get that to click. So eventually I think I finished the game with using the Joy-Con or the Pro controller. I'm like, I think this is the way to do it, because again, like, I just wanted there to be that mouse featured game from Nintendo, and I just kind of forced myself to using the mouse controls for Metroid Prime, but I don't think it really works too well for the game. But again, like, I did enjoy the game overall.
I think the problem is with mouse controls in Metroid Prime 4 is that they still keep like the face buttons and other buttons on the Joy-Con into account.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't have been the case. Like, you should have remapped those buttons a little bit to make sure that you can actually press them.
Yeah, I mean, unless they do offer the ability to remap things through the in-game options. But yeah, I mean, I think the problem is that Metroid Prime 4 was just never meant to be a Switch 2 game initially, then it got turned into one. And also, I think the other problem is that, unfortunately for me, because this is one of the features I was most excited for, I don't think mouse controls just work that great on Switch 2 in general. Like, they just don't, it doesn't feel that comfortable to use. Luckily, I was sent a kill switch, from the D brand, which gives you the Joy-Cons a nice shell, which makes it way more comfortable, but still not comfortable enough to use like full time as my main controller. But I will say, in their defense, I do love what they did with them in Mario Party. We're using it briefly for like just a few mini games. Those mini games are a lot of fun. And I think maybe that is where they could really be used, as like a secondary input device for certain things.
I honestly feel that third parties handled mouse controls better than Nintendo unfortunately has. Like, for example, I played a lot of the Civilization games.
Yeah.
Especially the last one. I played a lot of it with the Switch 2 mouse. Really enjoyed it. Worked perfectly well. Especially on a trade table in the train, I can play that for the entire way and feel completely satisfied with it. The problem is, they made it in use cases where you need to be very active. Like, Metroid Prime 4 is a very active game. Dragon Drive is a very active game. The only one which is very inactive and can be put in bits and pieces is Mario Party. And they need to do it in a way that feels subtle. Like, for example, do it with a WarioWare. Do it with something like that. That makes it a lot more better because it's more palpable.
Right.
Doing it in a way where you constantly have to use it and constantly have to hold your hand on the Joy-Con, train your hand after a while.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that's exactly why I didn't play much Metroid Prime 4. So it's just not super comfortable. And I like being comfortable. And that's why I don't play PC games in general. Like, obviously, I use a mouse and keyboard all day for work. But when I play games, I want to be in a more relaxed environment. I don't want to be like hunched over my desk, with my mouse in my hand and my mouse pad the entire time. So
Sure.
Yeah. But that's not to say there's no merit with it. I will say I've been getting a lot more use of my Super NES mouse pad recently for Mario Paint. I literally use it all the time when I'm using...
Oh, Mario Party is great on it. Yeah.
All right. I have another shout out for another thing that
Go
stood
for it.
out to me is I will say, I think Nintendo games by and large still look great. I think Metroid Prime 4 is actually one of the best looking games.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't even designed with Switch 2 in mind initially, or even for most of its development. But I will say, for as good as games like Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong look, they're not exactly blowing me away. But that's more to my point that I appreciate that Nintendo is using the power of the Switch 2 for things beyond just better graphics. Like in Donkey Kong Bonanza, it's like the whole voxel-based destruction. Mario Kart World used it to make a whole giant world, obviously, that interconnects its tracks in a way that we've never seen before in a Mario Kart game. And I think it's really cool. It makes me excited, for the future. Not to speculate too much on that, but I'm eager to see if they continue that trend of, hey, there's new ideas we can implement now that we have more horsepower, and I'd love to see what that ends up being. Like Nintendo even offered like a look at how Donkey Kong might have looked on Switch, and it wasn't. First of all, it didn't look as good, and also it limited how much destruction there was in the game, and it was really with the power of the Switch 2. They actually talked about the same thing with Mario Kart World, like having the power of the Switch 2 really enabled them to go farther with the concept than they could have originally. So I want to see more of that, and I want to give a shout out to Nintendo for that, like embracing the power in gameplay sense rather than just a graphical upgrade.
Yeah, and they did a good job with that, even to the games that you didn't bring up, Andre, like Hyrule Warriors. It runs at a steady frame rate, and I was so thrilled to play that. Yeah, it has a frame rate. It's not chugging all the time. Even in handheld mode, I was switching back and forth between them. Like, oh my god, this game runs like a gem. I can't believe they actually got this running like this. And then on top of that, Nintendo giving us the options with the Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4 of playing it in 4K or 120 frames. Like, I never thought Nintendo would ever do that. Like, seeing that in the Nintendo or Direct for the Switch 2, I was like, wait, they're talking about frame rate? They're talking about visuals right now? Like, I was just shocked by that.
Like, it's crazy that the Switch 2 has a screen built in that can support 120 frames per second. Like, that's wild to me. This is Nintendo. They usually use, old busted crap, and here we are with a 120 frames per second screen.
I mean, they still use an LCD.
That's true. I was reading, I'm not a tech guy or that big of a tech guy myself. I dabble with it. But from my understanding was that there wasn't an OLED that was capable of all the things Nintendo wanted the Switch 2 screen to do, which is partially why they had to go with a LCD.
Makes
in
sense.
This case. Yeah. All right. What other things resonate with us this year?
I mean,
Go Don.
I had to bring it up at some point because you brought out Mario Paint, so I want to circle back to this point.
This paint?
Nintendo Classics is still a mess.
Oh, the whole NSO app thing?
Yeah, all their series of NSO apps called Nintendo Classics.
Yeah, now most of them now. They're still. Oh, actually, are they all called it now?
I think they're all
Pretty
called it now,
sure,
right?
yeah. Pretty sure,
Okay.
yeah.
So what's the problem with that, Don?
They announced a bunch of games during the Switch 2 Direct, and they basically said, "Hey, look away from these games. We'll give you Wario World." I'm like,
It wasn't even on the list.
yeah, that was on the list. You promised us Fire Emblem Path of Radiance and Pokemon Coliseum, really expensive GameCube games, and they're like, "Whoops, here's Wario World."
Yeah, it's kind of scattered. Like sometimes they'll give you a heads up as to a game dropping. Other times it's just a shadow drop, and it's just a little annoying. I mean, not a huge deal, but it's just a little annoying. I wish there was more consistency there. I would, especially as one who covers it. Like it'd be nice to know if I need to be around to cover this game. But that's a minor complaint. But still, it's just the inconsistency is weird. And how they jump around between platforms without rhyme or reason, seemingly.
Yeah. I wish they handled it like PS Plus,
yeah.
where PS Plus, just like the basic model for PlayStation, I think they announce it maybe the week before the new games come out, and then it's just like, oh, it's the first week of the month, and you can just download those games or add those games to your library right away. But it's like, maybe a random Wednesday or a random Tuesday, and it's like, oh, here's NES games, here's Game Boy games, here's a GameCube game. It's completely random.
It is.
Yeah, and also there's no rhyme or reason of when these games are coming out to begin with. There's no set schedule.
Yeah.
So you might just only look at your phone some days like, hey, there's new stuff on NSO. It's like, what?
Did you find that out through the Nintendo Today app?
No, I found it out through notifications on Twitter.
Exactly, that's right. Speaking of apps real quick, I will give a shout out to Nintendo Music. I knew it didn't launch this year, but I think the app has been improving, both with the slow rollout of music, but also with features. But they added this I made a whole video about this, or related to it, is they added this fun little feature to the Animal Crossing soundtrack where, like in the game, the music syncs up to real life time, and that's exactly what they did for the soundtrack in the app too, which is amazing. You can play the exact music that would be playing on your island right now. That's so cool, and I hope they backdate it to other Animal Crossing games once they get added as well. And that's such a cute Nintendo feature that only Nintendo could really do. Like, they couldn't do that on Spotify, you know? And it's like, oh, that actually makes sense. You know, this I understand partially why you have your own music app. Whereas Nintendo today, again, has not sold me on why that needs to exist, but...
I still also think they should do more albums per month, because they do now do 2 albums per month, once every 2 weeks. Come on, you can easily do 4 or 6. What are we doing?
Yeah, they could. I wonder if they're just scared to death of like when they run out of music, you know, and then they have to only worry about new soundtracks coming up.
They're Nintendo. What do you mean?
Yeah, they have like an infinite library.
Yeah, they have a lot. All right. What other points do we have from this year?
So I'll, I guess, piggyback off of Don going to like the Nintendo Classics, but more so like in the positive way. I was shocked that we got GameCube this year, and then the announcement of Virtual Boy for next year. I was like, wait a minute, they're really going in this direction, because we never had GameCube on any like virtual console before, and then same thing with Virtual Boy. That just coming out of left field. But again, like the cadence of when they're going to release these is just kind of all over the place. Like they did show the lineup for the Virtual Boy games. They're missing some exceptions. I understand because of licensing. They don't have like Waterworld on there. And that might be one of the major ones. But again, the Virtual Boy library isn't that large to begin with. And they said they're going to roll it out over time. So it'll be interesting to see how many are actually at launch in February. I hope it's like half of it at least. Because if they're just going to roll these out over the next year or two, that's going to be pretty painful.
That's the main reason I'm not excited for the Virtual Boy app.
And the crazy thing too is
let's
like
not discuss it too much. But we'll discuss it in 2026, I think. But
yeah. The crazy thing.
But I can quickly tell my piece on it. The reason why I'm not excited is that they're releasing stuff in chunks again, which I'm like, you have to buy a separate accessory for that. That seems really bad.
I actually have a whole video coming up about the accessory and the possible launch lineup for the app. But yeah, let's save that discussion for 2026. But there's not a whole lot to discuss. I want to discuss that there. I do think it's cool myself that they actually announced that at all. I didn't think they would ever touch on the Virtual Boy again. The fact that they are, for me, is actually pretty exciting. Though I'm also biased because I actually have a Virtual Boy like sitting right here. Here it is. Here's my actual Virtual Boy. So yeah. Anyway,
and that's the crazy thing is Nintendo rarely brings up the Virtual Boy. Every once in a while, you might see a nod to it. I think maybe in like Tomodachi Life, they had it in there. But it's insane that they're bringing it back, even though it didn't do well. And I would have thought that they would have brought it out on like the 3DS for the eShop, but no, they're bringing it on the Switch too. And I think Switch 1, right? You'll be able to play it on both.
Yeah, on both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's what my problem with the apps right now is there's too many freaking apps. Like every system has its own app, and I wish they would either consolidate it or give me like a row. Like I think my preferred option would be if I had like a secondary row of NSO family games or whatever they call it, where you can like individually like have the games you played recently on that row. I think that'd be cool. So it's not just showing the apps, it's showing the games within the apps. There is a kind of a workaround with the NSO app itself where you can more easily access individual games through it, but it doesn't fully solve my problem. So I wish it would like make that a little cleaner, because my interface is getting a little messy now with all these platforms and games, you know. So yeah. All right.
Andre, what do you have?
You know, my final point is that stood out to me this year is seeing more of the seeing the Mario Galaxy movie for the first time. We finally got some concrete details on it. We got the teaser, we got the reveal trailer, we got a scene from it now, a brief scene. And also our first look at the Zelda movie, where Nintendo released some official pictures from it. And I have to say, as a fan of like Nintendo IPs and movies in general, like this is a really exciting era for me. Like they're really embracing what more you can do with these properties outside of games, and that's what I want to see. I want to see more of this, you know. And so I'm really excited to get those early looks at both these movies coming up. One of which is coming out in a few months here, being Mario Galaxy movie. And yeah, that really had me excited. That was a high point of the year, just seeing more of these and seeing like, yeah, this is the direction Nintendo seems to be going in. Will be, you know, hopefully more to come, you know. So.
Yeah, it's crazy it took them so long to kind of get out of their comfort zone of just focusing on games. And I'm happy that they're doing it, because they did a great job with the first Mario movie. I'm looking forward to the second Mario movie. And just seeing Zelda, those pictures, and seeing how confident they seem with the Zelda movie just gives me confidence that it's probably going to be a good movie.
We honestly owe the Wii U a lot. Thank you, Wii U, for being such a massive failure and piece of crap that Nintendo had to redo their entire business model. All right. How about you guys? Any other points that stood out to you this year?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Don.
I'm gonna bring it down, but yet again, the eShop on Switch 2 is not better. It's just faster.
Yeah, and even then, it's still not even that smooth. Like it still stutters at times, you know, which annoys me.
I mean, My main issue is why are Switch 1 and Switch 2 software still in the same recently released tab? Because you get all the slop from Switch 1
Yeah.
digested between Switch 2 editions, Switch 2 upgrades, new Switch 2 releases. And then the good releases on Switch 1 get undersnowed under all that slop as well. Like, there needs to be some way where they can reformat this entire freaking store and actually make it look good. Because, yes, it is a continuation of the Switch 1 store, which wasn't great already, but at least they make it faster on Switch 2.
Yeah.
But the fact that I have to search through dozens of deals, through dozens of new releases, to find the stuff that I like, is sort of maddening in its own freakishly absurd way.
You know, I wonder how much of it was even intended to be faster or just a side effect of the Switch 2 being a better system. You know, it just accidentally ran faster. You know, I hear that, Don, and yeah, I don't like using the eShop all that much, even with how much faster it is. My bigger problem with the eShop is it just doesn't feel like it's formatted for a TV. Like, again, I play mostly docked, and so I feel like I'm looking at these super-sized icons, which makes sense for a handheld view, but it just feels like cramped on the screen. It makes it like unpleasant to use for me. So I just don't go to the eShop much at all unless like there's something I need to buy there. Otherwise, I'm just like avoiding it. So, which speaks to your point, they should redesign it.
Yeah, like even in handheld mode, it's not particularly good either. Like it feels really displaced. Yeah, you have this discovery tab which they place tiles in. You have this search tab, which they now for some reason 2 months ago decided, you know what? Let's just put a big banner for Switch 2 software on the top so you can look at all the Switch 2 software.
Right.
And now they put the demo section. You have to go through the search tile, then click demos, and then click search.
Wow. Yeah.
Which I'm like, no. And then the only good thing that they have updated with the Switch 2 is that how new releases work, because they actually brought it out by month and not made it a full tile list. So there are small improvements. It's just not there fully as a storefront yet.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, Nick, any other points from this year?
Yeah, I have, I guess, one more final point, and I'll end on a positive note. Just the launch of the Switch 2, like the midnight launch, the pre-order chaos, the getting the Switch, and I think mostly everyone that was able to pre-order or that one was able to get one. Just having that new console launch is just an amazing experience. Like me going with my friends to the midnight launch for the Switch 2. It's something that only happens like once every like 10 years or so. So like to have that happen with this, to launch with Mario Kart World, a brand new Mario Kart after playing the last one for over a decade. Like it was just an awesome experience, and I can't wait to do it again in the next maybe like 10 years with the Switch 3.
Stop it, Nick. It just happened. You're not looking forward already to the next system. Jesus.
But no, I had a great time with it. I can't wait to do it again, because again, like just seeing all these brand new games, and who knows when we'll get the next Mario Kart. It's probably going to be like another 10 years, but again, like I'm hopeful that Nintendo does a good job with Mario Kart World and the future of that, and I hope they give us the roadmap for that game over the next couple of months.
Yeah, no, I adore Mario Kart World. I think it's a great game. I hope they keep building on it, because I think, you know, I think unlike some people, you know, sorry, I didn't mean to single you out here, Nick. I just meant in a general sense. You know, some people think consider incomplete. I'm like, it's a complete game.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, there's so much more potential you can do with that world. It's like, okay, they showed us something brand new. Now I would love to see them explore that even more. So I think that'd be great, and I think it has the potential to be like that evergreen living game that they just keep evolving and updating over time, and I hope that they do more so than they have for most of their games. But also to your point about the launch specifically, also like gotta give a shout out. It was probably the smoothest launch I've ever been through. Like outside of the pre-order panic we had, like yeah, as you were saying, if you wanted to Switch 2, you could get a Switch 2.
Yeah,
like they were everywhere, especially after the first few days, which I think even then, but even after like the first week, you could find one. You could go to a store and pick one up. You know, I think I even went to store the next day or two, and there was sitting on the shelves. And even with that, like it wasn't because they were underselling. Nintendo shipped so freaking many, it became the fastest selling system of all time, and that was great. I know in Japan the story is a little bit different, where it's been much harder to get a Switch 2, but in the US at least, I think Europe, it's been a pleasure. So
yeah, it wasn't like the fiasco that was the Wii, because I remember people saying like they couldn't get Wii for
For
months.
years!
Yeah, for years at that matter.
Yeah.
And then I remember it wasn't like the fiasco with the PlayStation 5, or, again, that was more so, I think, months, and, again, maybe an issue to the times when it came out. But yeah, the Switch 2, yeah, like you said, Andre, you just walk into the store, it's like, oh, here's one, I'm going to pick it up now. For people that wanted one, they were able to get it.
Exactly. So, I think it's a good place of kind of wrapping it up, unless, Don, you need anything else for topics.
I mean, the only thing I will say, it's been a really nice year for indie games.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a nice year, especially like the latter half of this year with Hades 2 and Hollow Knight Silk Song. Man, what a good year for indie. Also, Bull X Pit, also a really good game. Such many good smaller games this year.
Yooka-Laylee?
Yeah, Yooka-Laylee.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been nice seeing already some good indie games on Switch 2, and of course other platforms as well. So, all right, well, now that we've gone over some of our highs and lows from the year, I want us to just give our overall grade that you would personally give Nintendo, whether subjectively, objectively, or both, if you have a separate score for those. So, Don's laughing, so let's have Don start off here. Don, what's your score for Nintendo letter grade, like A to F?
Oh, I don't do letter grades. I'm a European system. I don't know what those letters mean.
All right, fine, I'll allow it.
So, it's difficult, right? Because if you would ask me to go for the full year, including the first half with just 2 Switch 1 games, I would give it like a 7.
Oh yeah, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD launched this year, which I forgot about. That feels like forever ago.
And
Xenoblade Chronicles
Yep.
X, yeah.
Yep.
Those are the only 2 Switch 1 games released pre-Switch 2.
Right.
So if you would ask me across the entire year, it would be like a 7. For the 6-month period I had with the Switch 2, like an 8, 8.5. I really enjoyed my time with the Switch 2. There are obviously still some smaller complaints I have, and I mentioned them here and there. But overall, like, as a handheld to play with, and I use that all the time, like long travels every single week. It's honestly been a nice piece of kit to have in my back pocket and in my backpack.
You probably shouldn't keep it in your pocket. You're gonna sit on that someday, Don. All right, so is that your subjective and objective score for them?
It's the full score, and then the score with just Switch 2 in mind.
All right, perfect. All right, Nick, how about you?
So you said we're giving it a letter grade from F to A, right?
Us Americans are, yep.
Okay. Well, I always feel like there's an S tier. I'm not saying this is S tier. S tier is going to be 2017 for me. But this year with the Switch 2, with Mario Kart, with Donkey Kong, I played just about like every major release. Even though I didn't finish every single one, I played just about every one. I don't think I finished Pokemon, but even Metroid and Hyrule Warriors and Kirby Air Riders. Like, I'm going to give this year a solid B, because all these games were very, very good. And the thing that I think Nintendo did really well this year was that, like, every game or every one of our favorite games was completely different from each other. Like, mine was Donkey Kong Bonanza, Don said Kirby Air Riders, you said Mario Kart World. So the nice thing there was that I think Nintendo had a little bit of everything for everyone. And that just shows how good of a year they did for 2025.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. They did have a lot for pretty much everyone, especially if you account for the Switch 2 editions as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good one. I'm actually surprised. I think your score actually came in a little bit lower than I was expecting, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought you were going to rate it higher. So, for me, I have 2 scores, as you may have guessed. I think, objectively, I would give it an A-. I think Nintendo's done one of the best they have when it comes to the Switch 2 in terms of platform launches, having a good selection of games, a steady release cadence, and even having a Mario Kart World at launch was brilliant. I would only dock it because I feel like they're still missing that big, super exciting game. I know, a lot of people would say that's DK Bonanza, and I totally respect that. So, but I guess I feel like that wasn't. If had that been a launch, it would have been even stronger, right? But even putting that aside, I think it was a really good year for Nintendo. Everyone who wants Switch 2 got one, and they've had a lot of great games this year. Subjectively, I've got to go with probably. I'm matching. This feels weird, but I'm matching Nick on this. It didn't sound that bad. It's a B. I thought it sounded bad, and Nick gave it a B. I'm like, all right, I guess mine's not that bad. I give it a B. For me, I don't think the Switch 2 is all that exciting. It kind of feels like I'm playing basically the same hardware, just a little bit stronger. I never play a handheld, so those improvements don't factor into me at all, like in terms of screen size or comfort. And also the game library, I think there's been some really good ones. I'm a huge fan of Mario Kart World, but then DK Bonanza just completely farted the bed for me, and besides the amazing final hour, which is great. And so I feel like I haven't had that really compelling single-player experience yet. I did end up liking Metroid Prime 4 a good amount, but even that isn't like it's not like a Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey or something.
Yeah.
That's what I'm really still hoping for and needing. And so that's partially why at this point I would give it a B. But that's still really good, and I think it's a good start for Nintendo. So, especially as we enter 2026, in which we'll be discussing that soon, including everything we know and everything we're hoping for or expecting, we'll have to wait and see. And yeah, that's pretty much it here, everyone. So, before we get to that discussion coming up soon, Don, where can people follow you at?
You can follow me at Nintendo. That's NANTNDAAN, no P in there.
All right, and how about you, Nick?
Yeah, you can check out my YouTube channel. That's Steftendo, STEFTENDO. Go check it out.
Definitely do. I will link to those in the description below. And with that, everyone, thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us throughout the entire year. It's been a great one, and hopefully that'll continue into 2026. So stay tuned for that discussion as well. Bye, everyone.